Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's going to be one of the GOATs. It's NegativeZero taking on BenBotBC in a PvT here on one of the new maps, Torches. It's exciting because NegativeZero has been off the ladder for a while, and it's actually back off the ladder again. It was on there for, I'm not actually sure, but not a long period of time, and then a new map was added, which it didn't, I guess, have functionality set up for yet. And so it was taken back off the ladder, but it did play a few games prior to that. So we're going to check some of them out, as you got to see NegativeZero once in a while. It is the best bot out there. I mean, if you go by pro bot standings, it's Zozo at the minute, which is a bit of an anomaly, I'll say. But yeah, NegativeZero, it's very good to have it back. And as always, it should be an epic match here against BenBot. So ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, go ahead, click that like button, give it a slap, give it a poke, whatever you want to do to it. If we can hit, oh, I don't know, there's what? Quick maths, 38 supply in this game presently. Let's go for 38 likes on this video. For a second, I was doubting my math. I'm like, oh gosh, did I do that wrong? Never try and do math on stream. Or in YouTube videos, I suppose. We do get the random pylon from NegativeZero again. I have no idea why it built this. I think it did this in the past when I cast it. But yeah, that's definitely very interesting. These Marines are going to be bogged up on it. So maybe it's just going to buy time for them or something. Or prevent the Marines getting into the bunker. However, NegativeZero is just not going to build a Nexus, as BenBot is, well, fully cheesing, and it would be a bit silly for NegativeZero to do that. It did scout around, it saw no racks, and so there's a bit of a mystery factor going on right now. The proxy bunker has been identified. I'm not sure if I finished my spiel, but if you guys haven't already, leave a comment down below saying more bots, as that helps us with the YouTube bot, and you guys are the best at it. I read all your comments. And yeah, let me know what bots you want to see, that kind of thing. And subscribe if you haven't already, and join the Discord, which is linked down below. I'm doing the occasional weekend live stream, just as a fun way to mix things up and interact with you guys, so you can get notified of that as I ping everyone in the Discord. And let's see here, as we do have two stalkers for NegativeZero, feeling out this bunker, not going to engage it yet. However, at some point, the Protoss bot will need to break this contain, this classic BenBot contain, dare I say. And it definitely is an interesting thing, because I do believe BenBot decide, like, if BenBot has history of the bunker proxy not working, I don't think it goes for it. And so, in BenBot's mind, this is a success, or at least based on results. Don't quote me on that 100%, but I assume that's how it works when these two battle it out on the ladder. So NegativeZero's got 5 stalkers, not enough to break a bunker. There is another Marine coming on in, however, they tend to go a little bit far forward, and this looks like it's actually going to be a very solid cleanup from NegativeZero. The SCV gets taken down, the Stalkers burn the bunker down. These Marines are in so much trouble now, as Stalkers are just killing machines to pursue them down. I mean, Marines are slower, they have less range than Stalkers. There is nothing going for them in the battle against Stalkers. So BenBot quickly turns that tank around, which is good to see. It's got a Widow Mine behind it and is setting up this bunker. Now BenBot has mined out this mineral wall, so that could be a potential attack path in the future. However, those rocks do have to be killed off prior to that. And then we do have NegativeZero going up this ramp, eats a tank shot though. And the bunker of BenBot, or pardon me, the barracks of BenBot may actually die unless it gets repaired. I assume it will. These bots are pretty good at that. And there goes a couple of SCVs putting in the work to save that, which is important, as BenBot is a meching bot. It does need a racks to build more factories. However, as I say that, it's actually got yet another racks up already, so it wouldn't have mattered. Let it burn. We have NegativeZero getting up its delayed Nexus, and then a Robo on the way. So this is where this build gets success for BenBot, as the Stalkers actually go on in. They kill off the tank, eat a Widowmine shot in the process. Pardon my observing, as I decided to check up on NegativeZero's base, right as NegativeZero decided to full send. Or I guess half send. It sent and then changed its mind. Very beautiful thing from NegativeZero when it does eat a tank shot on the Stalkers. It doesn't just do what a lot of, I'll say, stupid bots do, and that is just sit in the tank range. It actually adjusts for that, which is really, really nice, as we've seen far too many bot games of units just feeding into tanks or bunkers, that kind of thing, endlessly. NegativeZero doesn't have too many of those errors. And let's see, Stalkers just containing BenBot at the bottom of the ramp. Currently it is 2 base to 2 base. BenBot does have that nice economic lead though. 2 orbitals, dropping mules, 42 SCVs against 32. And it really is incredible how the matchup between BenBot and NegativeZero plays out, in that BenBot routinely gets ahead, but there's a bit of a clock as far as NegativeZero powering up and getting into, say, Tempest, that kind of thing. And honestly, there hasn't been too many losses this game for NegativeZero. Like, that was a pretty clean bunker cleanup. It did trade out some Stalkers for a tank. And, yeah, very, very cool to see that NegativeZero is back in action. An observer is providing perfect information, so NegativeZero can decide whether it wants to go up this ramp. I think the answer is definitely not, seeing 2 Widowmines, a bunker, and 2 tanks. Now, if it can maybe bait some of BenBot's units out, that would be really nice. For now, though, BenBot is already getting into that battle cruiser, which is expected, as now that 3rd command center is going to float on over here. NegativeZero still containing the bottom of the ramp of BenBot. There is +1 on the way for the Protoss. That will be very helpful when it comes to dealing with these battle cruisers with just Stalkers, as that's all NegativeZero is going to have. No Void Rays, no Tempest, not for a while. And it's not exactly easy to get that just off of 2 bases. So it's nice to see NegativeZero's getting up a 3rd, but BenBot maintains a worker lead. It's got the 3rd base landed pretty much instantly saturated. So it's going to be a big lead in the economy now. NegativeZero's got a Prism joining up on this, but it's still not confident enough to try and break this location, which again is a sign of a very, very mature bot, in that it will actually just not, it's making the wise decision by not doing anything. Sometimes the best action is nothing. Now, we do need to see some action here from NegativeZero, as a Stalker gets warped on in to engage this battle cruiser. And then a few more do come back to skirmish with this. No +1 on them yet, but BenBot's threshold as far as the battle cruiser is fairly low, so it just puts itself in a corner to be nice and safe. But I'm sure it will be back, and probably with friends at some point. For now, though, no secondary battlecruiser on the way, which is quite nice because it means NegativeZero can get up its economy. Based on the lack of Nexus at this 3rd base, I'm wondering if that Stalker warping potentially interrupted NegativeZero building the 3rd. It definitely needs to get that up, but look at this. The rocks here on torches did expire, so that's a new attack path opened up, as NegativeZero can now threaten the 3rd of BenBot. If these Stalkers rotated around towards that planetary, that would be huge for NegativeZero. In fact, I think it could probably break it. NegativeZero is smart. It's not that smart, though. So, yes, I'm not sure we'll see that adjust at some point, as that is some next level thinking. BenBot is trying to float out a 4th base. That could be a vulnerable target as well. The battlecruiser goes back into the main base, trying to kill some more probes. Stalkers being warped on in to deal with this, though. We see the BC of BenBot teleport out. Fairly simple logic there. Just keep that BC alive, as they are precious, precious battlecruiser children. Now, NegativeZero continues to bulk up a large force on the door of its opponent. No blink on these stalkers yet. We do have BenBot with a second battle cruiser out now, teleporting it in to NegativeZero's base. There is no static defense. A single sentry warps in, but that's not going to cut it against a BC. We're getting an Oracle on the way. Meanwhile, SCVs of BenBot are transferring towards this 4th base location. This is not great. This is just a shooting gallery for the Protoss. However, not quite capitalizing on this, as NegativeZero does have to pull back some of these stalkers. No recall being used. I'm wondering maybe that was disabled, as we have had problems of units being recalled between these gaps in the pylon because of the building placement. NegativeZero does continue to have some units active out on the map. A couple of Immortals poking this spot, and then a single stalker with a bodyguard warp prism to keep it alive, just to skirmish with a single Marine, but the Marine gets some support. We hear BenBot go for yet another battlecruiser jump, so kind of playing NegativeZero like a fiddle right now. However, all those stalkers being pulled back means that the forces have remustered for NegativeZero and won't have to break up that strong choke point, that strong defensive position of BenBot that is that ramp. Looks like +1 will finish up for NegativeZero. Stalkers are coming in. I'm not sure they will save the Stargate. No, they do not. Good target fire down from BenBot. It didn't just change target upon seeing those few stalkers. And then the BC just says, "See you later, nerd," and parks itself to safety. Another battlecruiser teleports in. NegativeZero will not be able to get far. We've got a couple of Immortals being hunted down by BenBot's bio. That's the very cool thing about BenBot. Well, one of the cool things is that it plays with heavy bio as well, and the hit squads can be quite effective. This one stalker not amounting to much. BenBot is on a whopping 5 bases. NegativeZero just playing with 3, not even being that cost efficient either. The losses are actually immense compared to what BenBot has lost, so NegativeZero will need a big win, and a big win soon. And let's see here, a single stalker is keeping some of the bio of BenBot busy. BenBot's actually already maxed out, only 11 minutes into the game, which is, again, very, very nice. Stalkers do have blink for NegativeZero. One of them still goes down, though. Yamato cannons are unavoidable unless you got a prism, I believe. Can you blink out of Yamato cannon? I feel like it still tracks, but yeah, I'm not too sure on that, whether you can. Anyway, we do have these battle cruisers and the army of BenBot poking on out. This one stalker is actually really, really distracting BenBot here, though, and this army's really in the middle of the map, so NegativeZero is going to try and seize the opportunity. Stalkers are kind of choking up on this mineral patch, though there is a lot of firepower in all these Marauders, so NegativeZero has to get those stalkers out of there and kind of turn the choke point in its favor. It's got a Colossus now to help out, but man, oh man, the Protoss bot is not having a lot of success here. We got more battle cruisers inside the main base as NegativeZero is taking a beating. The Immortal will do very well against the high Marauder count, but other than that, there is not a lot going for NegativeZero. Now, the Protoss bot has been able to get out a single Tempest, which can begin working away on these battle cruisers, but we have seen BenBot just blink on top of Tempest in the past, and that could potentially happen here. It could actually be bad for BenBot if it goes for that underneath all these stalkers, but if this Tempest is isolated, oh, look at that, a Yamato cannon instantly queued up, and that is a lot of HP off the Tempest. Next Yamato cannon will kill it. BenBot is hitting the 4th base of NegativeZero, the attempted 4th anyway. It has yet to finish up. Stalkers, though, blinking to the rescue, picking off some of these units. Skirmish going on as some BCs go down the middle of the map, but they are repelled. Tempest as well has already got one battlecruiser kill, is trying to get some more. They're pretty much invisible in this corner here, as now we do see NegativeZero actually getting on top of a lot of the tanks of BenBot. The Protoss bot is fighting back. It's got a nice little death ball, and the Tempest is kind of keeping it safe from that battlecruiser harassment at this point. So now the Protoss can maybe do some work with its large army. It's got +2 attack. BenBot does have 2/2 on these BCs. Yamato cannon going to hit a Colossus, which is an interesting target since it's not really a threat to the BCs, but still, those 2 injured battle cruisers get to safety. Oracle goes down, flying over a turret. More BCs for BenBot coming out of the woodwork to help defend, and it is a very high battle cruiser count. 9 in total, +3 armor on the way. And then we do have a Tempest of NegativeZero finding a 6th base of BenBot. 7th base, actually? Oh gosh, I'm going to have to do some counting here. But anyway, good denial by NegativeZero on that base. BenBot has a lot of economic room to burn. However, we are seeing Stalkers focus down these SCVs, so the planetary isn't being repaired. And it just goes to show how efficient NegativeZero's army is when you let it get to work. And that's kind of what we're seeing now, whereas it's able to move out around the map. It's been able to rebuild its probe count. It was down in the 40s not too long ago, so things are kind of looking up for the Protoss bot, but overall, supply-wise, BenBot still has an immense lead, and it's a very precarious position as we see this one Tempest just get extremely overkilled here as the battle cruisers just absolutely delete that. NegativeZero back down to 0 Tempest. It's building 1, so there'll be a replacement. But look at this, there's so many BCs here, 13 against 16 Stalkers. This is not looking good for NegativeZero. The battle cruisers are just cutting through these Stalkers quite quickly, thanks to their 2-2 upgrades, although they do end up taking some damage and going home, so it's more of a skirmish than anything. If those BCs knew how big they are, they'd just be able to fly right over those Stalkers and kill them, but BenBot is programmed with safety for the battle cruisers in mind. It's one of those things you could, in theory, have, like, dynamic HP and retreat thresholds on the BCs, which I think would be good, but it would, of course, be a lot of work to program that kind of thing. And let's see here, as we do have a Marauder hunting down an Immortal. That's a nice pickoff. Another one could go down to some BCs, as BenBot is still in a pretty alright position. Looks like a Tempest may kill off a couple more battle cruisers. That's a nice pickoff, but BCs are coming on in once again, engaging Stalkers. The micro of NegativeZero is very good to save these Stalkers as long as possible. We see them taking damage, being about to die, and then teleporting out, and that does force BenBot away. We hear the tag jump Tempest once again. Massive amounts of Yamato Cannon killing that Stargate. However, NegativeZero does actually have 2 more, so Tempest production lives. The main base, though, is definitely taking quite a bit of damage here. The battle cruisers are in trouble, and I'm kind of worried that they're just going to go into the corner for BenBot when there's Tempest out, which will be able to punish those corner battle cruisers. NegativeZero may lose a Nexus, and it does, losing maybe a little bit of production in there too, but now we've got all these BCs, and they really need to get in the corner, as the timer is 31 seconds from these battle cruisers being able to jump home to safety. We do have BenBot constantly poking NegativeZero, still hitting this precious gold base, this 5th base. BenBot wants the bottom side, NegativeZero taking the south side. Why can't they just live in peace? I do not know. For now, these battle cruisers are kind of just holding the position. Tempest are getting really nice shots off on the BCs. They're about to have +3 attack. That's going to make them really chip into these battle cruisers, and NegativeZero is actually able to push BenBot away in what seemed like a pretty entrenched position. So well done, NegativeZero. The battle cruisers of BenBot actually go back in, and they're just going to right-click on a pylon, another pylon, and they really are just going for that supply and just trying to unpower the buildings of NegativeZero. 2 Robos unpowered, a Forge unpowered, Cybernetics core unpowered. That's a pretty big deal. The BCs cancel the Nexus, take a bit of damage, and then they're just going to head on home for a nice old repair. Now, it's very, on paper, efficient for BenBot, but as far as time goes, maybe not the most. Like, they got a few pylons for 10 BCs sitting in a corner for 60 seconds. That's good, but part of the bigger battle here is at this gold base right now, so we'll see if BenBot can get this too. That would be really, really good for the Terran, and it looks like it's going to go down as BenBot does kill the Nexus. NegativeZero has got another base here, but it is supply blocked presently. It looks like it's digging itself out of that supply block hole. Battle cruisers filtering in. Tempest, though, are getting really, really nice shots off, and this is the trickle that we do not want to see, as this allows Tempest to thrive against battle cruisers. The battle cruisers just taking damage, having to get out. It looks like the air blockers here on torches are actually messing with the pathing of the BCs a little bit, and those 2 cannot actually teleport out, so they are going to go down. BenBot's got a big bank to burn, but it's a base for a base as NegativeZero takes out that location. We got this location down here being worked on by a Tempest. However, there's a turret and a Widowmine to kind of help defend, and holy cow, that Tempest may actually die. Okay, it stays alive. But definitely gets a bit of a warning there as NegativeZero comes on in. This planetary has no SCVs to help repair it. This is a big commitment from the Protoss, though. The Protoss that is still half the supply of BenBot. And yeah, BenBot's got a lot of supply to work with compared to its opponent. Of course, there is some dead supply in Widow Mines, in the tank sitting on top of the ramp. Quite a bit of dead supply in the fact that there is a mine at every base, but I think if these BCs can group up a little bit, things will be looking pretty good for BenBot. Yamato Cannon hits a Tempest. Some of these Tempests have really been hit here. This BC is trying to be a hero and fight a Tempest, but you'll never catch that, man. As, yeah, NegativeZero is poking BenBot still. Looks like the hero Widow Mine did go down here. No drilling claws, notably, on these Widow Mines, which is actually quite a lacking upgrade. We do have a factory, it's got a tech lab. There's literally no reason why we couldn't have that. It might even force the Protoss to build some more observers if it's seeing all these burrowed Widow Mines. So I really think we need drilling claws as, yeah, that would be really, really good for BenBot. I'm wondering maybe it's a bug with the new maps why it didn't get it, because I think it must have got it before. We do have a big battlecruiser jump. I'm not sure where they headed, though. Anyway, the skirmish continues on. Resources lost is still quite in favor of BenBot as it kills an expensive warp prism there with a Yamato cannon. And these BCs have been getting that really good efficiency that they require over just sort of longer fights, constantly going home, getting repaired. And now we do have some of them maybe struggling a bit with these pathing blockers, but I mean, they're still killing off ground units. Even if the Tempest are hurting the battle cruisers, Stalkers are going down, a Colossus goes down. NegativeZero is looking to secure this gold base, but BenBot has the one on the right, so it doesn't really matter. BC's still skirmishing. We've got 5 Tempest out for NegativeZero. We'll see, maybe BenBot can Yamato cannon some of those down. Looks like the observer goes down as well. This PC kind of needs to recognize the danger it's in, though. These guys, they're really starting to feed into the Tempest a little bit here. So go on home. Their teleport will be off cooldown soon. And yeah, go on, get... Oh dear. I don't know why that one didn't want to teleport out of there. Okay, battlecruisers coming in. 1 Yamato cannon gets queued up, kills the Oracle. 2 more get queued up. Is that a dead Tempest? No, it's not. They're just all getting put into the orange. The next Yamato cannon on them will kill them off as these 2 bots continue to skirmish. NegativeZero struggling to stay above 140 supply. Yamato cannon does actually kill one of the Tempest. 1 Tempest for 1 battlecruiser. I think BenBot's actually okay with that trade. Warp Prism gets killed off again. We've got BCs now hitting this gold base once more. That was another dead Tempest. That's really nice for BenBot. I'm not sure NegativeZero is going to be able to keep up with this. We do see this base on the right being taken. That would be quite good for the Protoss. But, like, it's just been taking not the best trades because it's been being so aggressive here with the Tempest. Whereas if it's, say, built up to, like, 10 Tempest, it's like, okay, maybe that would be good. NegativeZero has also thrown away a tremendous amount of ground units, or at least traded out suboptimally. Not necessarily thrown away, but they definitely have been dying, as 61 Stalkers have died this game, and 10 Immortals. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit concerning here for the Protoss bot, down to 122 supply, heavily bottlenecked by gas in this game, so every base really does matter. It needs to take that assimilator. Battlecruisers coming on in, denying mining at this gold base. That's quite a big deal. NegativeZero, though, is starting to get the gases here on the right side. BC's coming on in, but it may be get a new base, lose a gold base for NegativeZero, though, as these BCs are pushing on in, denying mining at this location. Tempest are getting lots of shots off, but the BC does teleport on out there. Only 8 battlecruisers have died this game, which isn't a terrible trade when we see that there's been 10 dead Tempests. That is a trade I think that BenBot would generally consider okay, at least in this economic position. Another Yamato cannon connecting with a Tempest, and it really is perfect that these BCs are not being one-shot for BenBot, and they still continue to get value. That one's going to escape, get repaired on up at the repair shop, and yeah, things are not looking too bad for the blue Terran. Overall, cost efficiency isn't horrendous either. It's actually very good for BenBot. NegativeZero seems to have a few fresher bases with taking this one. BenBot doesn't have any other really fresh ones, but these ones still have quite a bit of juice left in them. In fact, these ones have been barely mined from, if at all. So BenBot really does have fresh bases, so there's not a lot that's looking super good for NegativeZero, except these 5 Tempests looking for some really good efficiency. This base is being worked on. There is no Teutonic Destabilizers, notably, for the Protoss, so they're actually going to kill this planetary a little slower than they maybe could, losing out on some efficiency, killing turrets slower, that kind of thing. More battlecruisers do jump on top of some Tempests, and that's going to be 1 dead Tempest. These BCs, though, are committed, but again, they're finding this base, which is mining precious gas. Yamato Cannon kills off at least another one of these Tempest. BCs are now going to go for a trip to the upper right. If they killed off that Cyber Core, that would actually be quite nice, and it does go down. That is huge, denying what I believe was +2 air armor there. Meanwhile, turret from BenBot comes on in, denying mining at the gold base, so that's 2 bases of NegativeZero being hit. The Protoss is still at 144 supply, though, just really bottlenecked by gas. It's got an incredible gas bank, or mineral bank, pardon me, 6,500 minerals, but just needs to build Tempest. Look, I think BenBot did lose a few battle cruisers there, having to rebuild them. The Terran is starting to kind of run out of minerals a little bit, so these bots have an opposite problem, as BenBot does need to get off some of its gas mining. I'm not sure if BenBot is a bot that has got like balancing as far as mineral to gas bank goes or not, but for now it's not a problem because it's not dipping into the 0 mineral mark, so it can kind of sustain these trades for now. NegativeZero, though, is up to 7 Tempest, which is a little bit scary. BenBot doesn't build Vikings in this situation either, which is interesting. And let's see here as these trades just continue on. And Yamato Cannons kill off a Phoenix. Again, it's like the BCs are still getting kills. They might not be Tempest kills, but Stalkers are going down, that kind of thing. Looks like BenBot may lose this base here to the Tempest. It would certainly be dead already if there was Teutonic Destabilizers, but I guess NegativeZero is spending its gas on better things. 1 BC coming on in, trying to be a hero, doesn't have teleport, doesn't have Yamato Cannon. Get out of there, man. You're useless against these Tempest. And let's see, BenBot now having to defend this planetary here. That's actually quite an important location. Trying to secure up this gold base still, but it's not happening. We do have another Tempest that could be in trouble, to some Yamato Cannon potentially. BenBot is losing quite a few SCVs. We have BenBot trying to be a hero, jump a battlecruiser to save this base. Yamato Cannon does get off, but the Tempest stays alive. And so things are starting to look a little bit worse for BenBot all of a sudden, as it's kind of entering that SCV death spiral we've seen in the past, where it runs out of money and then it just keeps spending the money on workers that keep on dying. Yamato Cannon does kill off a Tempest, so it looks like this base may stay alive, which is a darn big deal. This planetary, though, is cooked. Looks like that battle cruiser may get a kill. No, it doesn't target the injured one, unfortunately, as the Tempest of NegativeZero really are pressuring BenBot. And BenBot is just so short on minerals. Where's all this minerals gone? The answer is 222 dead SCVs this game. Math that out, guys. That's about 10,000 minerals or so, I believe. And that is exactly why BenBot is all of a sudden running out of money. Resources lost is still in favor of BenBot, but it's just got no money. And yeah, this is looking a little concerning. Those are some very good Yamato Cannons, though, killing off at least 1 Tempest there. And the more Yamato Cannons, the better. BenBot is spending lots of money on these BCs. It's also notable that battle cruisers being repaired does skew the resources lost, because a unit that's been repaired doesn't show the cost of the repair until it actually dies. So we may see the resources lost shoot up if BenBot does start to lose some of these older battle cruisers, and BenBot is struggling to even repair these BCs now at this point in the game. It's so darn broke. It's got just a ton of battle cruisers sitting in the repair dock, not doing anything. Now NegativeZero is trying to break up this ramp. That's a bit of a tall order. However, if it can get close in on here, these BCs will just be sitting ducks. Yamato Cannon does kill off one of them. Colossus does get killed off, but that's not really a prime Yamato Cannon target. And yeah, NegativeZero is just pushing on in, going for the kill. BenBot's still got an income, mining with some mules. Two Tempest just fly right on over those Widow Mines and turrets. That's a little bit of an overcommitment, I think, as a Tempest does go down. But NegativeZero's got quite a great gas income here. That is actually an absurdly high gas income. BenBot has completely given up mining gas as it's short on minerals, which is exactly what it should do. But it's looking very dicey for BenBot. Again, no drilling claws on those Widow Mines is quite painful, because who knows if NegativeZero would have had an observer in the right position not to let that Widow Mine get off another shot. Battle cruisers in the repair spot are now in trouble, just teleporting back an inch as they eat lots of Tempest shots here, and NegativeZero is pushing for the kill. It's been pushing since it was at 120 supply. Now we are seeing BenBot down to 120 supply. NegativeZero has built up to 180 and has somehow been able to bring this game back from the brink. And yeah, incredibly well done. I think NegativeZero is going to take this one as this BC fleet just gets annihilated. BenBot, yeah, I think it must have been brought down by just losing too many SCVs, trying to start up that command center again and again and again. And then, yeah, I think that's really the only thing I can think of, that it started to fall in the money. Because, like, if BenBot had kept up with its trades long enough, it would have won this game, I think. Like, the resources lost was good for it. It had traded out well enough that if both sides of the map were split and mined out, I think it could have won. But in the end, the Tempest of NegativeZero are just too darn good. I think there may be a little room for improvement for the BCs for BenBot. Like, maybe it's worth trying to Yamato cannon the Stalkers or something to ensure kills on them. Or just not Yamato cannon the Colossi, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's difficult to say, but a phenomenal match between these two. BenBot did lots of things right, but NegativeZero showing us that you gotta kill it before it gets to Tempest if you're gonna try and play with battle cruisers. As or yeah, maybe we do need to see Vikings or something like that from BenBot. I do think the drilling claws and SCVs probably was the biggest thing, because, like, if there was a constantly cloaked Widow Mine at these bases, like, when the Tempests were harassing this base, the mine would have fired more, potentially, that kind of thing. So I think that's an easy get for BenBot, and who knows, maybe the game result is different. But either way, a phenomenal match between these two. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this longer cast, click that like button if you're still watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Join the Discord, which is linked down below. And big thanks to everyone who does support the channel via the YouTube membership program. It's like a Twitch sub. You can check it out in the comments, or pardon me, in the description, or use the join button just right next to where the subscribe button is. And you can check out the perks to support the Starcraft bot channel, I guess is the best way to put it. And yeah, GG.